to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on the forum.
And this is Parker. I'm going on Tweak on forums now, but soon to be Mantis Toboggan. I'm going to change it all.
This is Jeremy. I go by Loki 2 or 3 or 7 or whatever, but definitely Loki, one of them.
Spoilers.
I'm just saying.
All right, welcome to today's episode. Quick announcements. Parker has 16 episodes of probation remaining, but if he shows up late again, it's going to be 20. So stop showing up late.
I'm working on those demerits.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Parker, go ahead and take us into, Mantis Toboggan, go ahead and take us into your segment.
All right, it's news time. News. So, first thing on news is we finally know what Arkady Grigorovich Rosevich, otherwise known as Omega Red, we know his card, and so we'll dive right into that right now. We know he's a 4-cost model. He has 6 health on the front side and the back side. He is only a short mover. Do we know his base size? It's got to be at least medium. It's medium. He is a size 3 model. He's got defense the same on both sides, the 3 physical, 3 energy, and 4 to mystic. His first attack is the Carbonadium Coils, his famous tentacles he's got. It's range 3, 5 dice. He gets power for all the damage dealt, and he also has Drain Life. So after its result, if it dealt damage, he also removes 1 health from, so 1 damage from himself. So he heals himself with every attack. His costing attack is called Red Terror. It costs 4, gives him 7 dice, also at range 3. Before choosing a target, this character can choose if it's physical or energy. And he has on a, it's kind of hard to see on this. I think it's a hit, or is it a wild? It's hard to see on this.
Just a second, I'll
render.
check. Continue.
It says to change on either hit or a wild. I can't really see it here. Change one of the defending characters' defend, while, or crit results to a fail. This character gains 1 power for each die change this way.
I think it's a wild. It's actually really hard to check. Actually, here, I bet I can check here. I was wrong. I was very wrong. Surely there's another picture of this somewhere. Yeah, I think it's a wild. A hit wouldn't really make sense.
Right. It looks, you'd expect a wild, but
it's just the picture's really blurry on the official post,
mm-hmm.
and the symbol doesn't look like the symbol they use for wild, but yeah, no. I think it's a wild. I'm pretty sure it's not a hit. I'll say that.
So, Absorb Essence is a cool new one. It's kind of, is it kind of like Pierce, only much better, right? Because it changes it to a fail, so you can't reroll it, or I guess if you're Scarlet Witch, you do not want to Absorb Essence.
The problem is it's very ambiguous. Well, you can only change the effects that would normally block, so, I mean, yeah, it wouldn't do anything. Oh no, because it uses a symbol. Is it a blank symbol? There's no blank symbol.
It changes it to the fail. It changes it to a skull.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. So you would want to use it against Black Widow.
Not Black Widow. Did I say Black Widow? I meant Scarlet Witch.
Oh, yeah, you wouldn't want to... Well, it wouldn't matter, because she's already succeeding.
Right.
Yeah, so anyway, maybe increase your resolution, Atomic Mass Games. You know, yeah. It's hard for us to read your spoilers. Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good stuff. The question I have is it's very ambiguously worded, because it says, whatever the effect is, change one of the defender's attack dice result to a skull failure. This character gains 1 power for each die changes weight. Does that mean you can do it multiple times?
It makes sense, right? Like if you get multiple wilds?
Well, but it doesn't say for each one you roll. It says
doesn't.
Change. It just says the effect.
Change 1.
Yeah. So it's ambiguous wording. because it doesn't clarify that you can do it more than once, and but it specifies what happens if you do it more than once. So it's just odd. I feel like they probably at one point had it unrestricted and then decided to change it, and then just never changed the second line.
Yeah. For powers, we have the first one is called Death Factor. It costs 2. This character and enemy characters within range 2 of it, with the poison special condition, suffer 2 damage in the order of your choosing. So it's 2 power to hurt himself. And you might go, well, how does he get poison out? Because he doesn't have a poison attack. It's coming.
Well, but
with the
Parker,
Death
how are you
Spores.
going to get them poison?
Right. Death Spores is his passive. It says enemy characters that end their activation within range 2 of him automatically gain poison special condition. Additionally, at the end of the character's activation, enemy characters within 2 of it gain the poison special condition. So if you end your activation within 2, you're poisoned. If he ends his activation within 2, you're poisoned. So you're poisoned, basically, is the moral of the story.
Basically, you're poisoned.
Yeah. He does have another ability called Ensnare, which is a 2 power attack. Push an enemy character within range 4 of him towards him medium. So he has another way to pull you closer to him, again, to get you poisoned. And then he has Carbonadium Armor, which is standard DR, basically damage reduction by 1 to a minimum of 1.
So there's basically 2 types of damage reduction. Thanos is the only one that's the exception. There's passive damage reduction, which is minimum 1, and there's active damage reduction that has no minimum but costs power. So he has passive damage reduction.
Right. He's also immune to poison.
Bonus.
So if 2 Omega Reds come together and they end their activation within 2, both of them are not poisoned. They're not.
And not poison.
Not poisoned, no.
Not immune to poison master race.
Every single time I play Omega Red, I believe in my head, or perhaps on the table, I will play Poison. This guy is poison. Just poison. Poison the model.
Did you, Parker, actually know that you are terrible?
He is definitely.
All right. Well, the
poison.
thing we pointed out before, which was this guy's basically just Venom all over again. He's got some quirky bits. He's not as cool as he was in the comics, or not in the comics, but in the TV show. He was awesome in the TV show.
So I guess the real question is, if he's like Venom, does his little funky thing he does, where he poisons and auto damages, is that as good as a throw? Because Venom has a throw.
I mean, 2 auto damage is pretty cool. And it can hit multiple people. Like, if you go into him and fail to kill him, that's real bad. Because it's just auto damage, and then he does attacks. And he can still heal himself.
He can only heal himself for 1, right? But I guess kind of if Absorb Essence works more than once, kind of, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, size 3 is a thing these days, too. I mean, there's a lot of characters that can't throw him. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I kind of wish he had some kind of maneuverability. Like, maybe if he just had Wall Crawler, it'd be something. But size 3 is pretty useful, but he's only speed short. I don't know. He's kind of lackluster. He's got some cool abilities, but he doesn't have anything to let him really, like, go. And so for a 4-point model, I think he'll kind of get left by the wayside.
He does have cool hair.
Yeah.
I mean, his hair's pretty neat.
Is that more of just a generic Asian haircut, or is that
I have no
specifically,
idea.
like a Mongolian haircut?
Like,
it looks
it's-
Mongolian.
It's serious. That's all I know. Like it's a style.
The big tough coming out of the top, I think, is generally Mongolian.
It reminds me of like a fantasy model, right? It sounds like a hairstyle you want to pick in a World of Warcraft, right? Like,
Yeah,
this
it's
is definitely a hairstyle for an orc or an elf or something.
Yeah, it's definitely Dynasty Warriors-esque.
Yes,
That's
there you
right. Yeah. Yeah. Omega Red seems like a 4-cost meh. I'm
He
not.
seems fine. He'll probably
okay.
play in his affiliation and be fine, whatever that is.
Yeah, I think the reason you want to take him for everything he has except Ensnare, but Ensnare I think is the reason he actually makes your team. If you need Ensnare, then that's when you actually get to choose Omega Red. But yeah, holy shit, that fucking name. Arkady Gregorovich Rosevich.
Mhm.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't think that's a Russian hairstyle.
Yeah.
That's a traditional Cossack.
Cossack
Cossack.
No, it's not. It's
in
really
Soviet
Alright.
Russia.
not.
in USSR, you no need food.
In Soviet Russia, tentacles poisoned you.
Do you know anything about Omega Red, Parker? Are you familiar with his backstory and like fluff and stuff?
He is. You know what? I'm sure there's a comic book like kind of featuring him. He's kind of like the Shocker, in Spider-Man.
He shows up a lot but never does anything.
Right. He's kind of he's just a monster of the week kind of character who shows up and he always gets pwned really fast. He's never like a super scary thing. He is. The most interesting way I've ever seen him done is it wasn't actually him. X-Force, the new X-Force organized by Wolverine, goes up against a group of super scientists that have used cloning technology and to basically make the perfect bodyguard / assassin bounty hunters. And their best model that they sold was a group of 3 siblings, all based on Omega Red's power set. And so the X-Force fights them. And they were actually the most interesting thing, but none of them were actually Omega Red. It was... Omega Red is just they're very much kind of a throwaway character that Wolverine or Maverick or Spider-Man or somebody punches in the face, and he always goes, why am I being punched every time I try to do something? Somebody in the Marvel Universe is just there to fuck me, and that's kind of who he is.
Well, I was just curious about the Death Spores thing. I didn't know anything about that. I just thought he was basically Adamantium Man with whips.
Oh no, I don't think his whips have never been adamantium, to my knowledge.
No, they're like carbonadium or whatever.
Right.
But it's like the it's the Russian version of adamantium. We don't have vibranium, so we made carbonadium.
I was going right. So it's the Russian version, so cheaper and causes him harm to use. That's like the Russian. That's the Russian. Yeah, the Russian.
It's
Russian
it's
style.
like vibranium, but instead of being based on steel, it's based on lead. You're like, that seems bad though.
Yeah. Seems like this would.
But he's strong. But he's dying. But strong.
Strong, but while he dies, so strong. He's
take many days to kill him.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was.
No.
Yeah, he's. Now that's the way I've experienced him, but for a while he was a big Wolverine foil, and he was a big Cable foil too. He's been, he's been actually a bunch of things, but
well, my main question was the Death Spores thing. Does he poison people around him in the comics? Is that a well-known thing? It's oh yeah, you don't get close to him, he'll poison you.
Right? Yeah, he has. Let me see.
Are you just looking up on the wiki?
Yeah. So it's actually pheromones. And it just makes it just weakens biological systems in his vicinity, because that was his actual mutant power. And of course it kills him too, right? He's dying from it also, so that's why he has to absorb the life force of others, and he uses his tentacles to do that. But then through the Russian super soldier stuff they did to him, he also has strength, stamina, durability, that kind of stuff. But
he's basically Colossus with whips.
He's more like the reason he was the anti-Wolverine, right? Wolverine can regenerate himself all the time, but it's just constant. His own body regenerates, right? But he's the opposite. He's dying all the time, but he can regenerate through the life force of others. He was supposed to be like a Wolverine foil kind of thing, in a way that Sabretooth is not, because with Sabretooth is an anti-Wolverine, right? He's the same thing, just different psychological profile. But Omega Red's a different power set, the opposite power set. Is how he was kind of constructed.
Okay. All right. So moving on, we have some more spoilers. So we're going to talk about some Team Tactics cards. The first 3 are going to be ones that we have seen before. The other ones are new spoilers that we just got today. So the first one is Grievous Wounds is being reprinted. So you all know how we feel about Grievous Wounds. It's awful.
Finally, we get more Grievous Wounds to have.
Finally, we have more access to the card Grievous Wounds.
Oh,
in case you want to ever spend a tactic slot and power to do nothing. That's what you get to do.
But it'll sure look like something. You'll feel, you'll have an expectation that something will happen, but nothing will.
The new art is awesome, though.
It is.
Have you seen it, Parker?
Yes. Through my one good eye.
I'm just making sure you can see it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay. So the next one coming up, which we kind of teased earlier, Carbonadium Synthesizer which appears to be Omega Red injecting himself with some kind of carbonadium, I'm going to guess. Unaffiliated active, Omega Red may play this card. And then remove all special conditions from this character. It removes 1 damage and gains 1 power for each special condition removed this way. So that's pretty cool. This is just basically a better version of Children of the Atom, because it also heals you. What do you guys think about this one?
Is it free?
It costs 0 power, yes.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so this is basically his lethal protector, right? Like, if he makes it into a list, this is what he's going to get. But yeah, it's a nice little card. It gives him some options. The problem is, obviously, once they see this in your list, they're never going to put negative effects on him. But, you know.
That's also okay.
Yeah. Oh, no, my character is immune to negative effects. So moving on, the next card that was spoiled recently is Red Room Training. Unaffiliated reactive card. At the start of the activation phase, start of the turn, basically, any allied character may spend 2 power to play this card. This character gains the Stealth innate superpower until the end of the round, and Stealth cannot be targeted by attacks while outside of 3. Nice little card. I think this is actually going to get some decent play, because, you know, having Stealth on the person who randomly found the power core is pretty cool, right?
Yeah. It's one of those things that I think, depending upon your matchup, could be super, super strong, but sometimes you'll go up against somebody who just never, like, they're not attacking you outside of 3. With anything meaningful, right. So it didn't matter. Well,
you'll also get the people that have like Cosmic Portal and they can just move you closer without being within range 3, which is super annoying. Alright, so now we're getting into Uncharted territory. These are cards that most people haven't seen yet, and we just got these today. So, first one is, I'm going to go in order of badness to goodness, if that makes sense to you guys. First one is called Eyes on the Prize, and this is definitely going to be lackluster. Unaffiliated, active. At the start of any allied character's activation, it may spend 1 power to play this card. During this activation, this character can interact with objectives range 2 instead of range 1. Eyes on the Prize. Parker, I'm trying to show you the art. You're not looking.
Sorry, I don't have my eyes.
You only have to look with one.
Is that War Machine in there? In like his, it's his HUD, right? Like heads up display.
Yeah, I think it's War Machine's HUD. Yeah, I think that's right. So, you can spend 1 power to have 1 of Toad's passives. And then someone immediately pointed out, you realize that's basically worthless on turn 1 because you don't have 2 power, right? I was like, yep, that sounds correct.
Yep.
It's like, so the turn of all you would want to play it the most, it's basically worthless. And so the answer is Angela is one of the characters that can play it, and she's the one character that doesn't need to. It's so stupid.
That's a weird one. That's really
weird.
Yeah.
Maybe that sounds like one of those
you
things.
You need a long mover that has 2 power turn 1. And so if you play also advanced R&D, then you can use it.
So a long mover with a range 2 can grab something and move back with his second move. Is that the idea?
Yes. A long mover with a range 2 interact could do it, I believe. Because you're just barely short with a long move.
So it seems like maybe a card that Inhumans could play. Like that's like one place you could do it. I guess Inhumans could play.
Yeah.
It.
So if your answer was Crystal could get given a power and then move up and use a Tactics card to probably get an objective, I guess. It's like, or you could also just like not be dumb. I don't know. I hate this strategy of I'm going to turn 1, use my gimmick to get 1 more objective than I might have gotten anyway. Like, it's just so stupid to me.
Anyway. It's not 1 more objective, really. It's just 1 more objective and the initiative, right? You took the initiative from your opponent. Your opponent doesn't have the ability to come and get you once you've done it. Because that's what every long mover in the game, like Black Panther can just do it, right? Just double move in here. I'm Black Panther, kill me from right here. So,
but if you're just talking about like middle objectives, like it's Black Panther, like who cares? You're not going to fucking kill him anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Like Black Panther is the example of someone who goes out and says, you know, I dare you to try to kill me from here. And
so someone like Crystal would actually kind of make sense because she at least would, because she's so fragile, she would get to move away. But it's like, okay, like which missions are we talking about being worth it though? Because all the ones where they're worth 2 points, it doesn't matter because they're random and you could do all of this and get nothing. Because you don't get to know beforehand that this is the one that matters. Anyway. It's silly. Anyway, moving on. Our next card is called Tactical Maneuvers. It is an unaffiliated reactive card. When an allied character is attacking or defending before the calculate successes and failures step at the end of the modified dice of the attack, you may spend 4 power to play this card. Reroll all of the defense dice. So this is a lot like Kunlun Training, where you get to modify the dice of one of the 2 people at the end of the attack, which is pretty awesome, I think. And I think this is kind of what we're seeing more of, a transition from adding dice to modifying dice. And one thing I'm going to point out, it rerolls the defense if you're attacking or defending. So if someone spikes a big defense roll, you can make them reroll it.
How much does it cost to play that card?
4.
Whoa.
That's how much the other one
Rerolling
costs?
the defense is Kunlun 4?
Yes.
I'd say it's
No.
1 more than Recal. That wouldn't surprise me. Parker, I was trying to show this to you. It's really cool art.
Oh, that is a really cool art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this. I think we need more of these modified dice cards. What do you guys have thoughts on that?
I think it's safe. I think it's expensive. I think it can be good, but it also can, do nothing. It's kind of hard to put a card like that in your list when you get cards that do stuff. It's a
weird to
fair
imagine,
card.
It's weird to imagine you can bring somebody back from the dead, or do a cool trick with all you've got for 4 power, or you could reroll somebody's defense dice. That seems really power imbalanced, but of course we know that field dressing's dumb.
Well, Tactical Maneuvers doesn't require 2 people either, and it's a reactive, instantaneous. Like, field dressing, you have to have the timing and the positioning correct to even have it be an option. Anyway, I think it's a pretty cool one. It's a nice card to add to the game. Next one we have is the Air Force. This is a very, very, very niche card, but when it's applicable, it's amazing. It is a unaffiliated reactive card. War Machine or Captain Marvel may spend 3 to play this card at the end of their activation. The active character's controller activates War Machine or Captain Marvel, whichever one did not play this card before the turn ends. So the 2 Air Force people get to activate each other at Follow Me for 3 power.
It's a great card.
Great card, you said?
I think it's great. Absolutely.
100% of the time when you're playing Captain Marvel and War Machine, you will include this card in your list.
Correct.
Yeah, double activating, especially with that list that we think is going to have a lot of activations, is going to be really cool. Also, War Machine and Captain Marvel in the right spot can be really dangerous, so that's cool. Not overly complicated, though. Then, the best card of the lot. Are you ready, Parker?
Yeah.
This card is called Bird of Prey. Unaffiliated reactive. When Sam Wilson targets an enemy character that has the flight innate power with an attack, you may spend 2 power to play this card. Sam Wilson adds 3 dice to the attack roll against the character and may reroll any number of his attack dice during this attack. If the attack deals damage, the enemy character loses the flight innate superpower until the end of the round. And he's fighting Green Goblin on the card.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 extra dice and rerolls for 2 power.
You just have to have an opponent with flight, which is fairly common.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, if you think about all the good characters, none of them touch the ground. It's like, Doctor Strange, Magneto, well, I guess MODOK doesn't have flight, but he doesn't touch the ground. Interesting.
Yeah, it's another card.
MODOK buffed again.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm pretty excited. That's a legitimately good attack bonus.
It's a good card.
That's really interesting that they put a Captain Marvel War Machine combo into the game. I think this is one of the. This is very similar to Sin, right? Giving value to Wave 1 cards with new characters. I think it's really interesting and useful and cool.
They want you to play the new Avengers, and also I think the Captain Marvel 2 movie just started shooting, so they're probably kind of ramping up for that.
Also, in the comic books, War Machine and Captain Marvel are an item. They were dating for a long time.
Oh, are they?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They're a serious romantic item. Yeah.
They're not as serious as Sin and Crossbones, but
Sin
they're
and Crossbones
serious.
are actually not an item at all in the comics. They're just commonly henchmen and mastermind and henchman. There was But I actually don't think they are a romantic item in any of the comic books. I'm sure Sin raped the shit out of him at some point, but
Yeah.
but
Parker knows which book I want to quote right here, but I'm not gonna do it.
don't do it. But yeah, War Machine and Captain Marvel are a big item. I actually do not know what happens. Spoiler alert: in one of the big Marvel crossover events, War Machine quote unquote dies. Like all Marvel characters, they're not actually dead. The good news, like, it's not really a spoiler alert. That's why I said it like that, because it happens like the first 7 pages of the comic. But because he dies while in a relationship with Carol Danvers, I don't know if they actually got together after he was resurrected, obviously, because he's a primary Marvel character later. I don't know if they actually are together currently in the comic books, but recently they were very much an item.
Alrighty. Cool. And then the last bit of news we have, he's almost here. What do you guys think?
Saruman.
Got it in one. All right. Put it in the books. Well, we were right on Sin and Viper. And so I'm wondering if maybe Parker can rattle his brain and figure out what the hell this thing is. Have you had time to look at this spoiler, Parker?
No, I got to glance at it earlier today. Let me get a good gander at it here. We know it's like a portal in space-time, right?
I don't know why you got that. It's an orange portal. Jeremy referenced it looks like some specific part of the human anatomy.
What's
It's
weird is it looks
definitely
like
a female.
model.
Ask me how I know.
Well, I was going to say it looks like an eye looking at you sideways.
Yeah, it's definitely a model, right? That's a model.
No, it's a physical model, yes.
Yeah.
Confirmed. It's a physical model. So our initial thought, which is maybe correct, is we think it's a spoiler from the Dormammu event kit.
Yeah.
Because we know that the Dormammu Dark Dimension like raid thing is coming out at some point this year. And so we think that this is maybe one of the portals from the Dormammu raid. And so that's our go-to. But I was curious if Parker, if it looks specifically like anything you've seen in the comics.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you think it screams like Dormammu, right? The tear and the rip of space time and the red and orange energy. It does scream, Dark Dimension. Dormammu's trying to invade. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in the canon that looks like that. Nothing really comes to mind. Thinking really hard.
One other guy posted on Facebook it might be Mephisto.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you put Mephisto in this game, I would be like, yeah, makes sense. Or like Nightmare. There's a lot of Doctor Strange villains that all come from different dimensions, and they do this kind of shit all the time. But the energy signature, the way they have it painted, looks like a Dormammu, not a Mephisto or Nightmare. Mephisto is usually like flamey flames, like he's basically the devil, like Satan. And Nightmare is like a black and green thing. Like this looks definitely more like a Dormammu thing. Also, Dormammu was in the movies, so I mean, it doesn't stop them from making kind of off the wall choices that seemed really strange, and then of course it became later. MODOK is a good example.
Cassandra Nova.
Yeah, Cassandra Nova. So if they told me later this was a Thane portal, and you're like, well, how the hell was I going to know Thane was going to be in this game? So,
well, we know that Blade's coming, so all kinds of weird shit's kind of open at this point.
Oh, that's right, because we know like the Midnight Suns are likely coming, which is one of the supernatural teams, which is Morbius, Blade.
I'm waiting for
Ghost
Dr.
Rider.
Orpheus.
What?
From Venture Brothers?
Oh.
I had Taco Bell for lunch. Anyway, he's the greatest sorcerer in the universe.
Yeah, Dr. Morpheus is an amazing part of that show for sure. Also, he's coming, right? So it says that's the thing.
I mean, only if you don't assume what he means.
The reason why I say that is it cuts off a lot of other things. It could be any of the females, right? If they're genderizing it.
What are the female options?
That's weird that you say that. I don't know if any of the extra dimensional beings, like Morgan Le Fay, maybe. I'm trying to think if there's any other like magical beings that from other dimensions that would do this kind of thing. There are not a lot of females. Like
Well, I mean, that's why I'm saying the he doesn't seem like a big clue.
You're right.
It
He
seems
doesn't
pretty
eliminate
obvious.
anything.
Yeah.
It eliminates the one
Yeah.
girl bad guy that does this kind of stuff.
All right. Well, it looks like we're probably going to land like firmly on It's Dormammu for now. Does that sound right to you guys?
I wish the
I-
clue would just be
I
like
vote
say,
that, yes.
he's come to bargain. That would have been a really dead giveaway. But
That would be boring.
you're right. Too obvious.
All right. So moving on, we have hobby projects. Parker, I believe you are working on hobby projects.
Yeah, I'm still assembling stuff. I've decided basically that kind of like last time I started doing modeling of any kind, way back when before COVID. I can't do it just once a week. It is fun to go over and model with you a lot, but I think I have to supplement that with actually other modeling. So behind me, actually, right now, there is random kits I'm assembling. By the way,
Parker,
if
Parker,
anyone,
you're gonna contaminate your house with all the models.
I know, right? I opened up models in my own house, which is begging for a child to come and lose it, because this game has
Or
so many
swallow it.
tiny. There's so much fiddly bit tiny shit in this game. It's just so likely that kid's gonna lose a piece.
My kid swallowed both of my Peter Parker heads.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, anyone who poo-poos the Deadpool model is insane. That model is so awesome. The several customizable torsos and heads all making like different emotions and expressions. The fact that they designed the swoosh, the onomatopoeia swoosh to be part of the model or not, and it doesn't really change the model at all, is really sublime and intricate. That is a fantastic model, and anybody who says otherwise is wrong.
The only thing I was sad about is I'm not a fan of the katanas, like the physical model of the katanas, but the rest of the model I loved.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, on Facebook, I don't interact with people a lot on Facebook just because I don't really have time to browse Facebook all day. But what I do is when I go online and people are like, hey, these are the like fan rules I made for my model that I want in the game that makes no sense. Like, I wanted, like, I don't know, SpongeBob SquarePants in the game, so here's rules for SpongeBob SquarePants. If you post something like that on Facebook, you could be assured that I go to your account and block you. And so there's only two things I've ever blocked on Facebook. It's those people and the one guy he said that he didn't like the Deadpool model, and I just blocked him. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life.
Yeah, you don't need it. One of the things that I agree with the sword thing. When I was very carefully clipping my sword out of the sprue, I clipped the sword out of the sprue, but somehow a chunk of the sword still like left with the sprue. And so one of my Deadpool katana has this really awesome nick in it that as soon as I did it, I was like, oh shit, this clipped poorly. And then I took a second look at it. I was like, oh, this looks awesome. It looks like he banged it onto something that like too hard, and it's got a big old chunk taken out of it. It looks perfect. I could never actually make that happen. I'm a horrible modeler. So if I wanted to make his blades look battle worn, I could never do it. But I did it accidentally, so I'm very pleased with it. But it is a very difficult sprue to deal with because those swords are teeny, teeny, tiny.
Jeremy, are you working on anything right now?
Finishing painting his little taco truck thing. But I will second the Deadpool being an awesome model. That was a really fun one to paint.
Yeah.
That whole last set was fun to paint. I even enjoyed painting Iron Fist, who I hate so much. But at the end of the day, he turned out to be a cool model, painted up, and yeah, I've been happy with the last few that I did.
Yeah, that's good. I had a lot of fun putting Deadpool together. I just finished putting my Cable together, so he was fun. Currently, as far as painting, John is painting all my stuff. So, John, if you can hear this, hurry up. Go ahead and finish the rest of my stuff, and it'll be great. And then I'll eventually probably paint more stuff. I'm gonna start working on the apartment building next. It's gonna be great.
I didn't know you gave some of your. I didn't know somebody else was painting your stuff, Brandon.
Oh, he's only painting the terrain, and I gave him a handful of models. He's painting Okoye, Angela, Shuri, and Wasp because I could not imagine me ever getting motivated to paint those models.
Yeah, I was going to say you gave him all the models you would never want to put on the table.
That is factually correct. So
Yeah.
it's like I was like, and of course, spoilers. He had to expedite my Okoye.
Yeah.
Anyway, But yeah, I'm excited to start working on the apartment building. I've seen a lot of people putting it together online, and it looks very modular and very fun. I haven't even opened mine yet; it's still in shrink wrap. But it does come with fire hydrants, Parker.
That's awesome.
Guess what that means?
I don't know what that means.
One little good boy is getting a base decoration.
There you go.
Yeah.
He is the goodest boy. He needs one.
All right, moving on. The next topic we have today is from the forums, and Jeremy, we have quite a doozy today, don't we?
Oh, mercy. We certainly
I have
do.
a question for you. When are rerolls?
What are rerolls?
Who
I'll treat
are
you one better.
rerolls?
Why is rerolls?
Why is rerolls?
Anyway, so Jeremy, you're kind of tuned into this one. Do you want to take this, or do you want me to do it?
You're much more mechanical when talking about this stuff. Go for it. It's a step thing.
God damn it! I didn't want to do this.
You want me to do it?
All right,
I can do
I
it.
try. I mean, anytime I ask you to talk, it's because I don't want to.
No, it's fine. So, what people generally do, so it's easier to kind of start of what people do now and what they're supposed to do. So, what people do now is you drop your dice. That's the attack roll. Then you have criticals. So then you throw the criticals down. So you have a massive dice pool. You look at those and you say, hey, my MODOK can spend power to then reroll X number. Cool. You can see all of the dice. You know exactly the outcomes and what you're hoping for. You add some dice, reroll. Go for it. Great, grand. Turns out, and this came up, I think, with Domino, and it kind of broke the mold. They were like, well, why does Domino have to pay before she rolls skulls? So Domino drops the dice. She sees some skulls. And because the way Domino's card reads, she can pay to make any of the skulls beyond that criticals, even ones that drop based on the criticals. So you have to pay before. Well, it turns out everybody does. She's not special. If you're a Wakandan, you got to roll before you drew those crits. You have to pay before you know what your full dice roll is. An attack roll is the initial set of dice you drop. Then you pay for things if you get to pay for stuff. Wakanda does, MODOK does. There's a few other models that have to do that. Go ahead, Brandon.
So there's one thing I wanted to point out, and Jeremy's doing a good job so far. But the big thing is because the way the rules are actually written, and I have never met anyone that has played this way, so it could be just us making this a mistake. But I think this was a wake up call that they wrote the rules poorly. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this gets changed. But because what triggers the reroll is the rolling of the dice, which actually happens before you roll crits. And so the biggest part of this I'm taking away is that because you have to choose to activate the ability before you've rolled the critical dice, is you cannot then reroll dice that are rolled as part of the critical. So if MODOK rolls double crits, his only option to reroll is the dice that were the crits. He can't reroll the new dice. Like, you can only reroll the original two that were already successes.
Right.
And so it's so fucked. Like, that's clearly not the intent of the rule, right?
I don't know.
Again, Domino broke the mold, and people were like, "Okay, this is how it works." And then you look backwards. Yeah. When you look backwards, go ahead.
The only way the Domino's ability works is if it triggers before criticals are rolled, but it also has the exact same wording as MODOK's rule.
Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, based on what I've heard, most people play this wrong. The developers, when showing the game off, played this wrong. So this is something that just kind of emerged as like, oh yeah, that's why. And also, it nerfs everybody who can do rerolls just a little bit. It makes the models just a little bit worse. Not that MODOK didn't need a nerf. Not that Wakanda wasn't looking for something to tone it down. So good, great, grand, whatever.
I would actually argue that it's possible they could just release a clarification. Because the way the actual wording is, and I know it said it was the exact same wording. It's very similar wording. There's just an extra caveat on Domino. So the MODOK rule, P-Brain, MODOK's Genius is Infinite, which, again, I love the names on these cards. Mm-hmm. After this attack, this character rolls attack or defense dice, it may spend an amount of power to reroll that many dice. And then on Domino, it specifically says Oh my god, I just noticed something else I'll bring up in a second. So her probability manipulation says after this character has rolls, attack, defense, or dodge dice, but before resolving criticals.
Mhm.
So you could actually argue that caveat changes the timing, and that she's the only one that goes before resolving crits.
So
But I just want to bring up real quick, conveniently, the two characters specifically we're talking about, when you're typing them into search, is DOM and MOD. And so I thought that was funny.
That's
Parker,
cute.
go ahead.
So that's really interesting that is this this is like a rules clarification on the forums is basically somebody asked this exact question. Domino says specifically before crits, but MODOK does not. So does MODOK get to manipulate crit dice? And
it specifically says when rolling dice. And then that brought up the argument of, well, it just because it doesn't clarify before crits doesn't mean that, because you don't roll dice after the crits. Like resolving crits is resolving crits. That's a whole different step. There's a roll dice step. Right. And so that's what they're saying you have to modify. Okay.
Interesting. Basically, it just means that you can't make your explosion dice more consistent, is all that clarification really says. Is your explosion dice become less consistent.
Well, you also don't get to know what your opponent does. Like, if your opponent rolls 3 crits and 2 blanks, they're either getting 3 or 6, but you don't get to know before you decide to reroll.
Right.
So it matters a lot even if you didn't roll crits.
Yeah, it changes it. It does change things quite a bit. Now you'll be wasting. You'll be wasting power.
The thing, yeah, exactly. You're gonna be wasting a lot of power. But the thing I'm worried about is it's gonna make people really nitpicky. Because if anyone knows this is a rule and someone's just playing a game and they're like, oh, well, now that I've seen you got 6 hits on 5 dice, I'm going to spend power to reroll with MODOK. It's like, it's too late. I rerolled my crits. You can't reroll your dice anymore. I'm like, great. Like, this is the last thing I want in this game.
Yeah,
and so that's a whole nother thing I don't want to happen.
Right. It is.
In addition to this being confusing.
It is true that all of a sudden now, if anyone sees 2 crits, and they're rolling against MODOK, and they just go, okay, I got 2 crits, and they just roll right then, just immediately, just kind of, not intentionally trying to fuck you, just roll really fast. Now you've lost your opportunity to spend to modify your dice because crits have been rolled, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing like if you just roll a dodge and you have brace. It's like, well, you rolled your dodge dice. You can't brace anymore. It's too late. Like, technically, it's that cut and dry. It's like the dice have been rolled. It's too late.
But your opponent rolling their crits invalidates yours. Like, when I accidentally roll instead of bracing, that's the 2 things I did. But when your opponent rolls crits before you have an opportunity to mod your own dice, I mean, you could always just, pull it back and just say those 2 dice, just so you know, those 2 dice can't be validated. You didn't give me the opportunity to modify my own dice before you rolled crits.
Yeah.
So,
and then it's totally different. So, Inhuman just says this character may reroll 1 die when a character attacks or defends. It doesn't say when it gets rerolled. So I would assume it's just in the modified dice step. It's specifically in the time when it says roll dice, which is kind of like a legacy wording problem.
Yeah.
It's not really like, I wonder what Zemo says. So Zemo's wording is concurrent with new people. Zemo has like current wording. He doesn't say when rolling. It's basically just MODOK, which I from what I've heard through the grapevine is MODOK was one of actually the first models designed. So it might just be that some old wording got put on his card. And I know Loki has a similar type of ruling. So Loki's I am a god rule says when rolling dice you may. And so because the way the timing happens, if you're using I am a god on defense, you actually get to see what your opponent rolls on offense first, but not their criticals. Before you choose if you want to use I am a god.
Interesting.
Because the steps are attacker rolls dice, defender rolls dice, both players resolve crits, attacker first. So I wonder is this being clarified then if you roll a critical as MODOK? Because the wording in the timing chart says if the attacker rolls an additional die for each critical in the original roll. So if that counts as rolling die, if MODOK then rolls a critical, can he choose to reroll after the attacker rolls criticals then? Because you're still rolling additional defense dice?
Isn't the idea that after rolling crits don't count as like what you're rolling? Crits are just what they are.
Well, specifically the timing because let's say MODOK makes a roll, attack or defense, doesn't matter, and there are no criticals in the roll. That means that's the last time he's rolling dice on that attack. Because anything else that would happen would be a dice modification, not a roll. And so you would then never have another trigger for when to trigger his ability to re-roll dice. But if you were to roll, let's say, a critical in your attack roll, and then you go to resolve your critical, you're still rolling another die. Does that mean that you could then modify the critical because you've rolled more dice to trigger the ability again? Does that mean you could trigger it multiple times? Like,
Well,
this is just really getting in minutiae of the rules, and I think they just need to change the wording on the ability.
You mean the wording on MODOK's ability? To just
Yeah, specifically
more
MODOK, but anyone that says when rolling dice and not just may reroll. Because the people that say may reroll obviously happen in the modified dice section. But it's the argument only came up because MODOK says when rolling dice. And because it says that, that's the trigger, which means you must choose to activate it during the attack roll step.
So I've got you a list of who's affected by this.
Okay.
You've got Beast, Stars and Garters. You've got Black Panther, obviously. MODOK.
Are you looking at this article that I'm also looking at?
Probably.
Okay.
Shuri.
So just for clarification, I just wanted to let people know there's an article about this on Xavier Protocols that you should go check out that explains it in more detail. But go ahead.
Yeah, so you've got Shuri with upgrades. You've got Star-Lord with, his affiliation. That's adorable.
Ew. I don't like that.
Huh. But yeah, it does change things quite a bit. Oscorp. Spider-Foe's affiliation. That's cool.
Well, specifically, Spider-Foe's affiliation works later, because this says once per turn, when the allied character is attacking, it can spend one. So this is an example of an ability that triggers to reroll, but then happens later after the other things. So all the ones you just listed before the Spider-Foes is people that are going to be affected in this in a negative way, because they're not going to get to see the dice. This guy will get to see the dice.
Well, if we haven't confused everybody enough, in summary, Brandon, can you sum this up in like a quick and easy way? Is there a
Sure. So basically, with the ruling that's currently happened, assuming that nothing else happens about it, which I think is unlikely, I think we'll get either an official clarification, because for people that aren't familiar, the rules forums, basically all of the questions are answered by one guy who's basically got, I don't know if he's an employee of the company or is just like the official moderator of the forums. There are also all of the devs are generally on the rules forum as well. But he will basically make rulings based on rules as written. And then if other things need to be errated, sometimes he'll talk to the devs and they'll let him know what's going to happen and he'll give that information. But basically, this is the current ruling that we're supposed to go by. And what it says is any of the abilities that trigger when dice are rolled, and the examples are Stars and Garters on Beast, King of Wakanda affiliation for Wakanda, MODOK's reroll ability, upgrades on Shuri, and winging it on Star-Lord. All these abilities say when rolling dice, and which means that the trigger for when rolling dice is when you first roll your dice, which happens before criticals are resolved. So you need to trigger the rerolls before you roll your critical dice, or else technically you're doing things out of order. So as an example, if MODOK rolled 2 defense dice for a roll, and rolled a blank and a blank, and your opponent rolls critical hit blanks, you would need to decide if you want to re-roll your defense dice before he rolls his critical die. And if you wait till after he's rolled the critical die, technically you've missed your opportunity to do re-rolls. Mm-hmm. This seems like an overall bad change based on how people have been playing this rule. So I would be surprised if it doesn't get addressed at some point. Anyone that does not say when rolling dice, as an example, the Inhuman ability where it says this character may reroll 1 attack and defense dice, all of Zemo's rerolls as well, they don't trigger when rerolling dice, so all of those rerolls still work as we expected they did.
During the modified dice step, yeah.
Okay. Well, that was a fun from the forums.
Gugh.
Yeah, that was a bomb. That blew up.
Gross. Yeah, I remember when you started talking about this on Tuesday. Oh boy. Yeah, I hope that gets changed. It just seems like a mess. That is not something I want to deal with going forward. So moving on, we have our main topic today. We did our draft style league we've been talking about doing. We finally did the draft and we played a few games.
We did it.
Nice.
Oh, you guys have already played a few games?
Yeah.
Nice.
Two points.
This happens when you don't just sit at home and do nothing.
Right.
He's putting together models, Brandon. He said so. They're right behind his head. I can
Pause.
see them.
Pause. Right. Oh boy, I love that. All right, let me pull up the draft info. Uh-oh. Where did I save this? Ah, here we go. No, that's not it. MCP draft. We did it. I found it. Okay. So real quick, I think each of us should run through our lists, and if you don't have it in front of you, I will post it so you can pull it up real quick. Or if you want, I can read through your list for you. So in the draft, just quick summary. Basically, the way this worked is we just did a streamlined version of the draft. Every player who participated got 100 imaginary dollars that we would then use to bid on characters in Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Point of correction: dollary dues, I believe.
Dollar dues, or doll hairs, if you prefer.
Yeah.
So the doll hairs were divided evenly. Everyone got 100. When it came to your turn in the draft, you would nominate who would be auctioned next. So basically your turn, unlike a normal Snake or Rochester style draft where you just choose who you get, the turn order is massively beneficial to whoever is in certain positioning. Like the person going first and last have massive advantage over the other players. Anyone who tells you that's not true is lying because they like their advantages. This is a much more accurate way to do drafting, and also it helps you determine what is considered to be fair value for the models. Now, this is our first time doing it since we had very little experience. The first characters drafted, I would say, went cheaper than they should have, and then as people realized how much money they really had to play with, things started getting a little bit more aggressive. You got 10 character slots. You could buy 10 characters in the draft. You weren't allowed to buy more than 10. And then after the draft, if you had any money remaining, you could buy Infinity Stones for $5 each, or you could buy any of the Rogue Agents for $10 each. And so you could have technically a larger than 10 character roster, but you had to cut it down to a 10 when you go to play games. So Brandon, myself, this was my draft roster in order. I spent all but $15 on my 10 characters. I got Bob, Agent of Hydra, Red Skull, Okoye, Proxima Midnight, Corvus Glaive, Baron Zemo, Nebula, Thanos, Black Dwarf, and Ultron. I guess I could have read the dollar amounts on those, but I don't know if people really care. And then after the draft, because I had $15 left, I bought the Time, Mind, and Reality Stones for my roster. This was pretty much my plan going in, is I wanted a combination of Black Order and Cabal. So it worked out pretty well. I got Thanos, which was the real important part of my list, and then I kept the $15 left over for the 3 Infinity Stones. I've been playing Black Order so far, and it's been a lot of fun. And this is why I had to get Okoye back from John, because he was in the middle of painting it, and I didn't need it painted, but I did need it, and so he just finished it up real quick. All right, who wants to go next?
I'll go. I actually don't remember the exact order that I drafted them in. But I do
they're
have...
in the order on the list.
Oh,
I typed them in the order you got them.
Oh, well, I actually have I just have like my cards that I got out later when I was list building.
Oh,
well,
I just linked you the thing.
Oh,
you could just read it off there.
It's in the okay. Didn't see that. Sorry. Okay, so my order was Domino, Storm, Kingpin, Cable, Sabretooth, Crossbones, Bullseye, Ghost Rider, Deadpool, and Sin. Basically, I wanted all the leaders, and so I got 4 of them.
I mean, there's only 20 leaders in the game right now. 17.
I think I got
19?
I got double the amount of leaders of everybody else. Yeah.
Yes. I put all the leaders in bold after we drafted.
That wasn't my actual strategy. My actual strategy was actually utilizing the one caveat that I knew is we were going to get to buy the Rogue Agents for $10 dues. No matter, we didn't have to bid on those. We were just going to get them. And Crossbones, of course, being one of the Rogue Agents, he's really strong in a lot of stuff. And so I basically was going to do criminals to try to get Crossbones because I knew I could get a good, strong criminal character along with Kingpin. And then what else did I want to do with criminals? I went from that.
Oh, I see. You said it backwards. You said that Crossbones was a rogue agent.
Oh, no,
You
I meant
Taskmaster's criminal is what you meant.
Sorry, yes. Taskmaster
Yeah, okay.
is the rogue agent. My bad. No, Crossbones is not a rogue agent. He is a criminal, though I ended up getting him. But
So you aimed for criminals because Taskmaster was a criminal that you could guaranteed get for $10.
that was the original inspiration for it.
Your drafting makes much more sense now.
Yeah.
I love that you spent $10 on Cable.
Yeah, that was just because one other person really wanted to play X-Force. That's how that happened.
And you were like, "Fuck you, buddy! I'm playing criminals,
Yeah.
which means I need Cable."
Yeah. Yeah. I don't mind my list that I got done with. The only thing I don't like about my list now that I finished it is, with the exception of Ghost Rider, which I didn't intend to get, I do not have like a big heavy hitter actually. So I actually think I might end up playing Ghost Rider more often than I planned on originally because I realized I got done. I was like, all of these guys, Sabretooth does, Sabretooth's efficient damage. Everybody can do damage in this game, but there's not really super teeth. I don't have a Scarlet Witch, MODOK, Magneto type character that's going to.
Yeah, you don't have like an alpha super friend type character,
Right.
I
but
do think
I wanted to
that
play-
when you only look at through it the lens of I want to play criminals, I think your roster is actually very good because Kingpin, Sabretooth, Crossbones, Deadpool, Taskmaster, Sin are all very good criminals.
Right.
And so you have probably the widest roster in one faction, despite you drafted 4 leaders, which makes no sense.
Right.
Besides that,
I 100% wanted to play criminals, and I really wanted to play Deadpool. I want to do Chimichanga Criminals.
Yeah.
I wanted to see how that does. So when I join leagues, I usually pick something kind of niche in the game that I want to just try, that I'm not going to do competitive to see if it's competitive. And so I like Crossbones. I was going to get Crossbones, guarantee a good Crossbones. I keep doing that. Taskmaster. Is it because they both have skull masks? I think it's.
I don't know what.
I think it's because they both have masks that are skulls.
Parker,
I swear.
use your goddamn words.
Anyway, Taskmaster, because I knew I was going to guarantee him. I haven't played criminals, so that's the path I went down. But yes, now you see where my weird roster came from. Is I was thinking criminals.
Okay, yeah, I understand more now. So Jeremy, I actually think you ended up with the best overall roster. So why don't you take us through your roster?
Okay, let's pull it up here. So I've got MODOK, Hela, Magneto, Hulk, Doctor Strange, Mystique, Gamora, Wong, Daredevil, and Toad. I also had $15 left, which I bought 2 stones. Essentially, I want to back up.
That Doctor Strange is allowed to have.
Yeah. I think it's important to back up. I mean, you read your list off like it just happened. It pissed me off to no end to watch it happen, but being that it was a draft, I could only fight for what I could fight for, and then end up with what I had.
First, what I wanted to do, Jeremy, is I just wanted to read through the list so people knew what we got, and then we could talk about strategy afterwards.
Okay, so that's what
I
I've
know
got.
there's a strategy going in. Okay, so I ended up picking first, and so I'm going to talk about my strategy first, then we'll do Jeremy, then we'll do Parker. And even though Parker kind of talked, I don't think Parker really had an overarching strategy other than I want Taskmaster, which was allowed. So, and as we've clarified, Crossbones is a rogue agent, so that really determined.
Hey, that helps. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my strategy going in is I wanted to play Black Order. I knew I just wanted something silly that I could play with. And with the way we were doing the rules, the Infinity Stones were really flexible and really cheap. I knew that all I had to do was spend $85 on the 3 Black Order characters that get played, and I would be okay. And so my plan going in was I have $85 to spend on Thanos, Corvus, and Proxima. Anything else is extra. And so my plan initially was if I have extra, I'll go for Cabal. But I didn't want to let anybody know what I was doing when I was doing it. So the first thing I did was every one of my turns, I'll just name the best meta model available. And I'll start bidding wars to get people to drain their resources. Because once I have more money than anybody, I'll just put Thanos on the block and I'll buy him. There's nothing anybody can do about it. So my first pick was MODOK. And I think my second pick was Magneto. And it might not have been Magneto just because somebody else put him up first. But so my goal, and then Jeremy just kind of immediately went into it, and so Jeremy ended up buying MODOK first. And so Jeremy, why don't you tell me what you were thinking when the draft started?
Kind of unlike Parker, because Parker was saying he didn't have any teeth. I knew the entire time that I was going to get at least one, if not two, heavy hitters, and I knew that no one was going to pick Hulk, and I could get Hulk really cheap, and I was going to combo Hulk with either MODOK, Magneto, or Doctor Strange. And because these aren't perfect lists, and that's what I was thinking, is nobody's going to be able to build a perfect list unless you go with Black Order and screw everyone over. I'd be able to pull that off, and I did. And once I saw what was kind of falling and how it looked, I was very happy with what I had, but I wished I had more control over what other people were doing. It was awesome. It was really cool doing the draft. It was really cool just because every pick and everything mattered, and it was pretty cool. And then just knowing what you were doing, Brandon, and like I wasn't able to stop it. It was just like so aggravating.
By the time it was obvious what I wanted, it was too late. Nobody could stop me because I put Proxima up on my fourth time around. I think it was fairly deep into the draft before I even betrayed what I was doing. And as soon as I said Proxima, Jeremy started looking more and more upset. He's like, nobody's gonna stop Brandon.
Nope.
I got Proxima for $6.
Yeah, it was no. And I knew if I would have bid on Proxima and took it wouldn't have mattered. That wasn't a key. It was just bullshit is what it was.
But I basically, my initial plan was to take Thanos first and just say, nobody can stop me. I've got the big one. But then taking Proxima and Corvus away from me does slow me down. So I decided to do it in reverse. And I was like, I'll slow burn everybody. I'll put Proxima up, and nobody will sell out to try and steal Proxima from me. But then once I have Proxima, Corvus's value goes down, which will let me buy him for cheaper. And then I just kind of worked my way up the ladder like that.
One of the things that the whole system kind of it is a lot. There is a strategy to it, but there's a constant interplay. You're having to evaluate and reevaluate constantly. You have a plan and you're throwing it away all the time.
Yeah.
Because there's a huge there's no dice rolled involved, but there's a huge luck component. Because if if any of the other people in the draft start going one direction or the other, or like catch wise to what's going on and want to do something about it, then your whole plan can get turned up on its end and you have to do something different. In this particular case, in this game, there are so many different models and so many different ways to go about it. And in this particular draft, I think most people were playing conservatively towards their plan rather than trying to modify somebody else's. I think most of the time people were just scrambling for, who gets picked last on the playground, right? Like you're just looking for a leader to play. You're looking for a model to build your list around, maybe. And so everybody was kind of just trying to get a faction on the board. Even though you made a factionless option, so if you don't even have a leader, you can still play. So it was.
I think me and Jeremy were the only two people trying to make people pay their taxes, except for maybe John towards the end. Like people were like, I pick Valkyrie, and it's like Valkyrie goes around the board for $3. I'm like, that's not okay. I was like, 7. Like we gotta get these bids to real numbers. Yeah. Like you can't just have like Gwen for $1. Like that's not an option. Like you got to pay for this stuff, guys.
But at the same time, you're also that kind of thing happened where that happened several times. Like Okoye went for almost nothing. Valkyrie went for almost nothing.
I didn't even want Okoye. I got her for $7. I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, like a lot of people but also I paid $4 for Bullseye. Like
that made no sense.
And it's because people saw that I was going for criminals, and so they go, okay, I'll make him pay more than $1 for Bullseye. You would never pay more than $1 for Bullseye. It makes no sense, but somebody made me do it, right? So...
here we go. How about this? Who is it? Jeremy spent more money on Hela and Hulk than I did on Zemo and Okoye combined.
Right.
Like it was just like, no one knows what money is.
Right.
Everyone was so focused about just getting their thing off the ground, they would not bid on anything they didn't absolutely need.
Right.
And so that was people were being too conservative at the beginning because they didn't realize how much money they actually had to throw around.
Well, it's because people were doing your strategy, which is throwing any model into the pool that you didn't necessarily want. And that happened once to me and Ghost Rider. Like, I just upbid somebody $6 for Ghost Rider, and the other person was like, okay, cool. And I was like, oh.
Like, I didn't actually want them, and you're like, oh.
And now I have a Ghost Rider. And when that happened, I'm not the only person that happened to. When that happened, everyone went, oh, shit, because you can't fill up your roster with bullshit trying to up people. Because
you can only take 10.
Right, so all of a sudden, but at the same time, Ghost Rider was not a bad character. I'm not mad that I have Ghost Rider. Okoye, Zemo, these are not bad characters, but they may not fit into your faction at all. They may not help you play your game, but they're not bad characters. So I think that's one of the reasons why I think like Jeremy's strategy of correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, but your strategy of I'm just taking models out of the game that I don't want to play against, I want to play with them. You said that while we were doing the draft, that was kind of how you started out.
Yeah.
Like that strategy was totally the opposite of, I think, the way that most people went. Most people went, I want this thing that I'm gunning for, and I'm going to try to use my money to get this thing that I want. I wonder what would happen if everyone would have played your style of just aggressively trying to get models onto their team that they don't want to play against, and therefore, make their team more dangerous while making opponents' teams less dangerous. Because that's not what happened. Instead, most people are going, I'm going to make I want something that's tactically what I desire.
Well, I think also, I think me and Brandon probably play the most of anybody, and what I was looking at that was cool about the draft in the models, I'm like, well, I don't care how much I spend. I wanted Magneto and I wanted MODOK, and then everything else on the list didn't matter, and I don't even care about affiliation. Like, I could plug in any models and make a run at it. Like, so I wasn't scared about how much I was going to pay for those two, and a whole plan after that was like, whatever. It turned out I got Doctor Strange for a steal, and I'm like, holy shit, I've got 3 of the most powerful models in the game, and I can put in anything I want, whatever, just give me something.
Looking at it now, I think I have the most average value per model spent, because I only bought one model that people really fought me on, and then the rest of my models I bought at reasonable value, or I only got because other people bid them up and then stopped. It's I only bid on them because this model cannot go below 10, and then I got it for 7. I was like, well, it didn't go below 10. It's whatever. I'm making people pay tax.
A good indicator that people were going for factions, and that was our primary indicator, is how expensive Wolverine was.
Yeah.
Because Wolverine is in this game a good beater. He is a strong beater. He's got good synergy with a bunch of tactics cards. He's strong. But he went for $14. For a non-leader, that was really high.
Yeah. For in-game value, I'd put him at more of an 8.
Right. So he went for 14. But it's because he has so many faction tags. Yeah.
So a perfect average is 10. Everyone has $100 in 10 slots. So they have $10 per slot to spend on people. And so if you spent $10, that means that, basically the game thinks this is a fair model that has value to multiple people. But what you really end up seeing is lots of models going for 5 or below, a couple models in the 10 to teen range, and then a couple models in the 20.
Yeah, I had
the one
21, 24, 15, and then hot garbage. Everything else didn't matter.
Lots of hot garbage. Yeah, you bought Daredevil, Toad, and Wong for a total of $5. Throw in Gamora, make it 7. $7 on 5 slots. So moving on, Jason, I think, was the one, I think he had a plan going in, and I think it was X-Force, and Cable went fairly early, and then he was just I don't know what to do, and it was just it looks like there's mostly Avengers left, and then started buying Avengers, but never actually got Captain America, and then one of the later selections he had, it was Captain America, and then he just got into a bidding war, because 3 people had a bunch of money left and nothing to do with it, so Captain America went for $25.
So
How did Captain America go for $10 more than Strange? Ugh. Most expensive model in the draft, Captain America. And that was clearly just a situational nightmare. It's 2 people want him and they both have $80. You're like, uh-oh.
Yep. But that is a luck thing, right? That was just if somebody had gone into this draft going, I'm going to do Black Order and figured the same thing as you did, which is Black Order needs 3 models, and that it doesn't matter what else I have Black Order, and so I'm going to be dominant in most matchups.
Well, I think there's a lot of strategy involved in that, though. I don't think it's just luck, because they had the option to put the guy up earlier and find out sooner what the situation was. Like, the second I put up Proxima, I knew if anybody was going for Black Order, and the answer was no.
No.
And so as soon as I knew no one was going for Black Order, now it's just coast mode.
Right.
But what he could have done is first put up Captain America way earlier, because he's the only leader currently. And so find out immediately if anybody wants Captain America. And then once you take Captain, all those other Avenger staples become way less valuable to everybody else and way more valuable to you. And so nobody's going to be bidding on Iron Man and Hawkeye nearly as much if they're not legal Avenger plays.
That's what I did with Storm. That's exactly what I did with Storm. I put Storm in.
Well, Storm's more of a mercenary leader than anything. Like, she
Right.
just leads a pile of crap at people.
Right, but I didn't think it was anybody was going to play X-Men, but I knew Storm was going to go really hard, so I wanted to take Storm. Storm was my only, Brandon / Jeremy's tactic of I didn't think I was going to play an X-Men faction ever, but I did not want to play against Storm, so let's see if I can get Storm, and I tried to do that early.
Okay. Yeah. But I think waiting so long to take Captain America is why he went so high, because he was really the only he was the only leader left on the board, and he's one of the better leaders in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if Storm had been Storm or She-Hulk would have gone at the same time as Cap, I think it would have been just as expensive. But She-Hulk also went pretty high. She-Hulk went 16.
She-Hulk, I think, went high for a reason, though.
Well,
we think that she's pretty good, but I think John listening to the podcast is why he spent so much on She-Hulk.
Yeah.
But
I mean, also look at what was already gone. So I snatched up MODOK. I snatched up Magneto. What beaters are left? You've got Thanos, which was going to go high. You've got She-Hulk, which was left. I mean, there was only a handful of beaters left. Like, it was going to be really rough.
Yeah, you need damage.
Or not.
It's kind of like the only thing that we were really like low on in the game. Like, there's a lot of redundancy. There's not a lot of redundancy at the damage position. Like, if you need somebody that does A-level damage, like, there's not many choices.
Mm-hmm. Or I was looking for criminals, so I was looking for more of can I stick in a fight and get objectives.
Yeah,
and I'm not trying to.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they win through a non-attrition manner, so it doesn't really matter if you have damage. The one thing I will say is that of everyone I've talked to, they said that they thought the draft was going to be a good time, but it was way more fun than they thought it was going to be.
Yes, it was much more entertaining than I thought.
That was the big takeaway I got from it. I'm very excited to do another one already, and we barely started playing games for this one. I don't even care so much about the games. I just want to do more drafts.
Yeah.
Oh, true. This is actually the thing that I enjoyed about it is I don't care right now. I don't actually care that much about how the games are going to go. I'm going to be learning from them because I'm still very much learning the how do I move my models, without losing automatically thing. But I am, and I got some of the things I wanted to try, like Chimichanga Criminals. I'm excited to try that. But I also am not. This isn't like a high stakes thing. I'm excited that. I'm excited that we already did the high stakes part. Like, that part was done first, and it was super entertaining.
I think this will be popular enough where, I mean, maybe we need to all put in like $10 and do like some sort of prize at the end or something. I mean, something fun. I think people would want to do this. I think people would pay a little something.
Yeah, no, it's fine just to have prize support, and the prize support doesn't have to, it could be door prizes, it doesn't really matter. But the whole reason of doing the invitational style the first time, where it's only people we know, is just so we can make sure the rules work right. And then the next time, like, we can start doing this as, like, hell, we could do tournaments based on this. Like, we could do a monthly tournament that's a draft tournament. We draft on one day and we play the following weekend or something.
It's great. I like also not having to, like, it's fun just to have the points, and I'm like, all right, Daredevil, let's see what you do. I mean, I've heard you're okay, and go, you know what, I do like this other model better, or like, son of a bitch, he's pretty good with that, like, it's just kind of interesting when you're not using every premium model ever, trying to make the best list ever, and not having to play Magneto versus Magneto. That feels pretty good.
Yeah, Magneto versus Magneto and MODOK, and you're like, awesome.
Yeah. So, big success.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm because I like spreadsheets. At some point, I'll break this down and I'll do like an average value per member of each faction or something, and we'll look at those numbers at some point, but not for tonight.
I was actually had a quick question for you guys. Were you surprised with any of the models that weren't taken? I was not. At all.
I guess we could talk about that. Yeah, there was 4. It was Cyclops, Dr. Octopus, Viper, and Wasp. Obviously, Dr. Octopus is better than some of the models taken, but Spider Foes was an unplayed faction, so... Yeah, once you're not playing Spider Foes, Doc Ock becomes way less valuable. But I think he's better than Ant-Man, which did get taken, but only because the guy that took him was playing Avengers.
Mm-hmm. He's not terrible in Cabal. I played him once with Cabal. He's fine.
You played Ant-Man in Cabal?
No, Dr. Octopus. I'm just saying.
I was like, why? That makes no sense.
I actually considered Viper for about half a second until I realized that Crossbones is a criminal and Cabal. So if I ever wanted to play Sin, it's actually a lot easier. That's the problem with Viper. Viper is fine in the Sin Cabal like formation. She's fine, but there are so many other 3-pointers actually in Cabal now, which is weird to say out loud. But there are more 3-pointers in Cabal now that are more exciting.
Yeah,
probably.
Alrighty, well that's basically answering or finishing up our topic here. Two more things we're gonna talk about tonight. Currently playing, we held this off until after the main topic because we want to tell you guys that we drafted, what we drafted, and how fun it was. And if you guys are interested, you can contact us. I can share the rules we used with you, and then also there's a basic rule set that we kind of made our own off of as well. So there's multiple options out there if you want to do a draft style league in your community. It was super, super fun so far. So moving on to currently playing, obviously we're all playing of the people of us that play games, obviously excluding Parker because he doesn't know how to play games.
I heard that you have to go to the special
Jeremy
location.
and I have both been playing our draft lists. I've been playing Black Order. I'm going to at some point try out the Cabal side of my list though. But the Black Order side's been pretty fun. So far, to this point, I have recorded every one of our Draft League games, and so they'll all be battle reports on our YouTube channel at some point. Jeremy, what have you been doing?
I played both sides of my list. I played Brotherhood once, maybe twice. Nope, I played Unaffiliated, I played Brotherhood, and I also played Doctor Strange and his team, Defenders.
I think it was just 2, wasn't it? Did you play 3 games?
I played 3 games. And I'm really enjoying Doctor Strange, and the more I play him, the more I kind of get it. He really is a puzzle. He's a puzzle to unlock. I think one of the biggest problems with him is his team's expensive as fuck. Like the models I want to play the models I want to play are expensive. Granted, you could throw in his new buddies that just came out, but I don't dig them. Anyway, just him and himself is really cool, chasing people around and pushing them wherever. That's pretty fun. Yeah.
And then you did play a game where you actively chased down Quicksilver.
That took some work.
Hilarious. It took a bit of work. Like Doctor Strange literally ran a horseshoe around the table. He's like, "Come back here, you little fucker!
Come, get over here, so I may brain thee."
Yeah. Quicksilver's just like, "Run away!"
I'm actually really. I want you to know the biggest.
Just real quick, Parker. Go ahead. So Quicksilver speedstered in, punched him, stole his objective, and then double long moved away, or medium moved away, then long moved away. And then next turn, and then he gets shot at, so he can't catch us me away short. Next turn moves long twice again. It's like, God damn it, you fucking asshole. Just come over here. It was really awesome.
Jeremy, I want you to know, when you bought Doctor Strange, Jeremy, that was, I was trying to be calm and kind of keep the side chatter to a minimum because we were trying to move it forward. But all I wanted to talk about when you bought Doctor Strange was, you bought Doctor Strange?
I know.
How many times have you told us that Doctor Strange is an enigma inside of a puzzle box, inside of a Rubik's Cube, inside one of those nail puzzles, inside 7 balloons? You can't figure him out. So I was very pleased. I was happy that you picked him.
He went very much in the line of the other ones where I didn't want to play against him. And he went for less than $15, and he was kind of in line of I wanted one more character to kind of define what I was doing, and that was fine. He was fine. I played him enough to kind of know a bit, and I certainly didn't want Brandon to have him. So
Yeah.
beyond that, like,
Oh, I wanted to play Strange with Thanos. I think that was
Yeah,
a
I'm
good
sure.
choice of you buying him. That was not going to be a good time for anybody.
no.
Which, by the way, Parker, if you ever want to watch like a definition of a Black Order game, we recorded one yesterday that Jerry kind of got to watch. Yeah. So I honestly thought when you took Doctor Strange, you were just going to put him on the bench and not even play him.
Mm.
I was actually surprised that you were actively playing him.
I would have been happy either way. Like,
Yeah.
benching him is fine too. I just didn't want to play against him.
All right, and we would talk about Parker now, but he's not allowed to play games.
I can 100% play games. I'm going to play a game tomorrow.
Oh, ooh, are you coming up?
Yep, I'm going to play Chimichanga.
Is this
I'm
is
going
this
to play.
going to be like normally when you say I'll be there 100%? You show up at like 11:58, and you're like, I just want to talk for a few minutes. I'll go home.
Nope, I'm making it a point. I'm actually going to see if I can't get up for like 2 games. I'm going to see if I can't get up for 2.
Ooh.
But because I'm in this league, and that's actually usually the thing that drives me to something. Like if I've made a commitment to something, then I'm going to do it. But I'm definitely going to play.
Since when?
Since yesterday.
Starting right now.
Yep.
Right now.
This
Right
is,
now.
This is my New
Right.
Year's resolution. But I'm going to play I'm going to play Criminals. I actually might play Criminals the entire time. I have 4 leaders, but I might play Criminals the entire time just
I think
because
you should.
I think I need to get better at the objective version of this game, and I'm really excited to play Chimichanga, Sabretooth. Well, it's got a little bit of our regeneration. I'm going to stick around for 2 long models in there, and Kingpin.
I actually just
I'm
I actually
excited.
just thought about you basically have the majority of that list I was playing for Cabal. It's technically Cabal, but you throw in as many of the Weapon X guys as you can
Mhm.
because you have Sabretooth, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
so you
purposely
have-
got Sabretooth
you
because I
have-
knew he was really strong for this style
Yeah.
that I wanted to play.
Sabretooth and Deadpool are both really good in Cabal. And so you can run the Cabal side as well.
Yes.
And you only need Dark Reign, really, because Dark Reign's the only card they need. So it's
Yeah.
fairly efficient on cards as well.
I was planning on probably dropping Sin at least once, and probably never doing the Storm version, but you could play Storm, Domino, Taskmaster for 3 X-Men and then do something. But,
How did you get Storm and Domino for like $12? Like, that makes no sense.
it wasn't $12. It was 15 and 16.
What'd you get? Was it 15 and 16?
Yeah.
All right, so you spent $30.
Yeah.
How did you transition from Domino, Storm, and then your next picks were Kingpin, Sabretooth, Crossbones, Bullseye, Ghost Rider, Deadpool, Sin?
Yeah.
Like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Everyone there wanting to play X-Men's like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, you just did this to fuck us.
Basically, those are the only choices I wasn't like. If I really easily got them, I was going to put Beast or Wolverine in there too, and then I could actually play X-Men if I could get a beater.
Yeah. You had Taskmaster, so you can technically play. You have the best version of X-Men, which is 9-point X-Men.
Yes, I do. Like I can play a 9-point X-Men, but then what about my beaters are going to be Sabretooth or Ghost Rider probably. Like that's probably
Ghost
not enough.
Rider's
No,
pretty
you're
solid.
incorrect. You're incorrect with all of that. Your beater is Domino.
Oh,
You are incorrect.
that's true. Yeah,
Oh.
Domino kills everyone.
Okay.
She is the murderer of all hopes and dreams. I promise.
Much
you.
like Toad. Toad just kills everybody, just like Black Widow.
Toad and
Oh,
Black Widow.
we're talking about currently playing. We didn't talk about your last game, Jeremy.
Jesus, I don't even want to talk about
Where
it.
Black Widow 1v2'd Magneto and Doctor Strange in 1.
Yeah.
Remember how fun that was when she staggered them both 2 turns in a row?
I got staggered by everything that had stagger.
It was
Shuri
amazing.
staggered me. Everybody staggered me.
I'm so glad that we recorded that game. I think the world needs to see that game.
That's what I get for nuking She-Hulk in one hit. Like,
Yeah.
no, one model nuke She-Hulk.
Yeah, She-Hulk never made an attack, right?
No, she didn't.
But my God, the fallout from
I paid.
that action. Yeah, you paid hard for that one.
Karma had it out for me.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, Parker, why don't you go ahead and take us into Comic Corner, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay. For Comic Corner today, I'm really excited about Jean Grey coming out. And Jean Grey is a fantastic character, but there's been so many writers that have picked her up. There's many different versions of her, And for anyone out there who has never checked out any of the all-new X-Men stuff, it's probably my favorite version of Jean Grey. So in the storyline, for those of you who don't know what the all-new X-Men was, after Cyclops, spoiler alert, at the end of Avengers vs. X-Men, Cyclops, under the influence of Dark Phoenix, kills Professor Xavier. Beast has a trial of conscience, basically. He feels responsible for this chain of events that led to this, and he feels like there was a simpler time when the X-Men had, more direct and obvious goals, and he wonders what went wrong, and so he kind of in a mental breakdown, he decides, I'm just going to go ahead and grab myself and the original X-Men from the past, because I can time travel, and just bring them to now and let them see what becomes of their labor, and hopefully they'll make better decisions than we did, which is a horribly irresponsible decision that he constantly pays for afterwards, but he does it. So the primary, Marvel Girl, who's Jean Grey, Cyclops, Beast, Iceman, and Angel, the original X-Men, all get teleported to modern times, and they have to deal with being those characters, in a modern era. So they meet themselves as older, except, of course, for Jean Grey, because Jean, at least at the time that she's brought back, her older self is dead, long dead, having, the whole fallout with the Phoenix event. And so the new Jean Grey, the teenage Jean Grey that's written in the all new X-Men is amazing. She becomes much less of a kind of a waifish, a waifish, weak feminine character, or later the kind of a ridiculous sex symbol, and she's very much somebody both empowered by her incredible psionic potential, but at the same time constantly besetted by all these people that see her as a galactic calamity. And one of my favorite comic books that really explores that is a crossover between the all-new X-Men and the Guardians of the Galaxy called The Trial of Jean Grey. And it's basically the Shi'ar Empire, which, while the original Jean Grey was possessed by the Phoenix Force, lost planets to the Phoenix. Like the Phoenix consumed planets while Jean Grey was piloting it. And so the Shi'ar Empire finds out that Jean Grey is back again, and they don't care that she's an earlier version that's never had the Phoenix Force. They want to put her on trial for the destruction of planets. And so they go and abduct her, and so the all-new X-Men team up with the Guardians of the Galaxy, because the Guardians don't like it when anybody fucks with Earth, and they go and try to figure this out. And if you want to see like a really great version of Jean Grey, this reimagining of her, try this Guardians of the Galaxy All New X-Men Trial of Jean Grey. It's written by Bendis, who does fantastic stuff with the X-Men along with the Guardians. He's done a lot of amazing stuff. But another cool thing about this one is, out of the All New X-Men, we get the modern definition of Jean Grey's powers, which are not really linked to the Phoenix at all, which I really like. Because for a long time, Jean Grey was just kind of a A-level psychic and telepath, but it was really the Phoenix that always gave her her super boost of energy. It's the thing that she relied upon to like break the limits and go Super Saiyan, right? But this Jean Grey, defined by Bendis and some of the other writers of the all-new X-Men, has incredible potential, but she has none of the Phoenix influence. It's all just herself, and she learns all this because of the new situations she's brought, under, including this interaction with the Shi'ar Empire. So if you want to see a really cool, super powerful, and an interesting Jean Grey, read The Trial of Jean Grey and any of the other all-new X-Men stuff. It's really cool. And even the new Jean Grey that's currently in the comics, who is adult Jean Grey, she's back again. Of course she is. She always comes back. But the Jean Grey who's back again is definitely influenced by this vision of her that comes out of all new X-Men. So really cool stuff. If you like Jean, which I do, check it out.
I mean, of all characters to keep coming back to life, you'd think the one named Phoenix would get the least pushback.
Yeah.
Have you always heard it Shi'ar Empire?
I've always pronounced it Shi'ar.
Because it's a text medium.
Yeah.
So in my audiobook, they always pronounce it Shi'ar, but I'm not going to say that was necessarily correct.
Yeah.
Because they said a lot of dumb things that was like definitely not the correct pronunciations.
Right. Well,
Anyway,
it's
but
weird.
every time I've ever heard it in like an audio medium, it's always been Shi'ar. So I was just gonna bring that up.
The Shi'ar or the Shi'ar, whatever empire, they have like really weird words like that, and they also have
Yeah.
names like Deathbird, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, okay, well that's not very.
You need to pick to be cute or dumb. Like
Yeah.
pick one.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for us today. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Jeremy.
Parker, you didn't say your proper sign off.
Oh,
Doctor.
Mantis Toboggan, Dr. Mantis Toboggan,
Man-
MD.
Probation.
Mantis
Back on probation.
Yeah. Let me change that. Hold on. 17 episodes probation. All right. All right, and thank you for listening to When Are Rerolls.
You
Now
podcasting?
we're podcasting.
I'm podcasting.
Now we're podcasting. Not before, but right now.
Now this is podcasting.
Hell yeah.
Cheska
Do it.
Sebulba, a Nakanika
And
Nukem.
Nakanika Nukem.
Oh no. Oh Jesus.
Jeremy's like, what is happening?
Mm.
Best writing ever. Brought to you through this podcast.
Guys, we found the leaked script for Star Wars 13. In this film, there's a humanoid shark and he has a Mexican accent. How does he do it?
It's the
There's that's a skit from Just Shoot Me with not Ben Stiller, David Spade.
That show's pretty good.
I do not understand how my brain remembers names because I'll group people whose names don't have anything in common with each other, like David Spade and Ben Stiller. like other than the last initial, there's nothing similar. But my brain's like, it's one of these two people. I know it. Like it doesn't. I do not understand how my brain stores names, which is probably why I'm terrible with names.
I will get there in 4 steps. 4 simple
Mhm.
steps.
You see, in the movie The Wedding Crashers, Val Kilmer plays a person. And then, in another movie, he plays a serial killer. And then, that was a remake of another movie with Christian Bale, who he plays a serial killer. And they had the same sound artist, so that's how I remember which one is which.
And they're
you're
the
like,
same
what? Like,
And they happen to be
they're
the same height.
yeah. And then on January 5th, they both wore the same jacket. And that's how I remember who they are. And you're like,
I have a really good friend once who, whenever he's trying to remember a famous person's name, he just uses the alphabet. He just goes A. Anthony Hopkins. No. He just starts listing off all the names he can think of A, and then B, and then he goes like that. So one day we were in the car trying to
that
think
would
of some.
take forever.
Yeah. So we were in the car, and we had like a half an hour car ride, and we're sitting there like, what is the name of this guy? He's in romantic comedies. He's not only like a big star, but he's in a bunch of them. He's always like with Julia Roberts or something. And so we're sitting there, and he's going, and we're both like racking our brain. He goes, H. Henry Connick Jr. Henry Connick Jr. And we both just like jump up and down in this car. And so if you were behind me on the interstate, you would have seen this tiny car like shift back and forth as
And like
two
all the
full-grown
hands
men.
waving
Yeah.
around the car, like it's either full of bees or they remembered the name of an actor. There's
Right.
no other option.
We were so excited that his weird alphabet style worked. We figured out it was Henry Connick Jr.
I've been thinking about, because you know when we're on road trips for cons, and you're always like, man, I wish we had like a driving game. We can never think of one. So like, because it's been so long since I've been to a con, I now spend my car ride time thinking about what would be a good car ride game, and so I'm going to be ready when we go to cons again.
Cool. Did you come up with anything good, or are you just working on that project that just started yesterday?
It's a work in progress.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, it's been going for like 18 months. I think I
18
got
months.
the makings of the first game ready.
Okay. It involves
Well,
a D20,
I had
a shot
I
of
had to
whiskey.
scrap it because the first game just devolved into a drinking game, which I realized only works in Missouri. So we're gonna have to come up with a new one as long as we're not driving to St. Louis.
It's called Open Container.
Yeah,
Oh my god. How many deer?
What a
almost hit my
horrible,
vehicle?
wonderful name for a game. Open container.
Open Container.
If you just said, guys, I'm playing a new game called Open Container, and you just stopped at that, no other context, I think everyone turns around and wonders, okay.
Well, then the other game I was thinking about is like Slapjack, but instead of slapping the jack, you just try and move the shifter without the driver being able to stop you.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm pretty sure one of you assholes has played that game before.
Yeah. You get double points if you get it into park.
God, just the that would just be so
That's
terrifying.
how everyone died.
I was going to say.
Well, actually, fun fact, if you actually get your car into reverse while traveling more than 5 miles an hour, your car will turn off. It's a safety feature they added in the CPUs.
Makes sense.
Well, then it's emergency
Yeah.
brake instead.
Yeah.
The second favorite game.
Doing 85 around a corner in the rain. Emergency brake! That's how they all died. Oh, I was actually going to recommend you did something like that for Comic Corner, so that works.
So have you caught up on Loki, Parker?
I actually, the fact that we do this we record on Wednesdays means I have not done it today.
Okay.
I did up to yesterday, so I have not done today's.
I didn't even know it released on Wednesdays.
It releases. I'm pretty sure it releases on Wednesday.
It does.
Yeah.
So was episode 5 today then?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm caught up then.
You are.
It was just a happy accident I chose today to catch up.
No.
Yes.
So I have not. I've been watching with Sarah because we both love the Loki character. And I'm actually. I have since the Loki thing came out, because Loki came out, Marvel is reprinting a bunch of like big compilations of modern Loki stories, not classic Loki stories, but the more modern ones. And so I am ordering a bunch of those on Amazon so I can reread all of them. I read them all kind of piecemeal as they came out. So I'm gonna get big omnibuses of modern Loki stories. I'm so pumped. I really, really like the new show.
I'm very satisfied thus far.
I was telling Sarah, this is actually, I think, one of the biggest like roller coaster shows that we felt like so far with this.
Yeah, it's got a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah, because some of the episodes have been just absolutely fantastic. Like the opening episode, I felt like was one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen for trying to cram and just an enormous amount of character development, something that took several movies worth of character development and cram it into a single episode in a believable, earned way. Like that was absolutely amazing. And
yeah,
then
they did a good job with that.
Yeah,
but I just want to clarify real quick. I know Parker hasn't seen episode 5, but we're not going to talk specifics about any of the episodes.
No.
Correct.
So if anybody is listening to this, we're not going to talk specific. There's not going to be any spoilers.
No. But I felt like that episode was so good, and then some of the other episodes have been so amazing, just with Loki in this story. Like Loki's been very present in this story rather than us like having to think about Loki and all the other stories and how they interact. And then there have been some episodes that have been this weird kind of like side street almost feeling, like they didn't even belong in this story. A lot of unearned things that, and Sarah, I was really trepidatious. There was one episode in particular that I felt, we'll talk about later when it's all done and people have got a chance to watch it all, but I felt like there was a lot of things that happened that didn't seem very earned or they felt kind of out of left field and uncharacteristic of Loki. But then, of course, in a later episode, we've learned more information and it was more believable. I really like this. I'm right now, I'm actually, this is the very first time I broke from my tradition of waiting till every single show, every single episode of a miniseries was out and watching them all together. I broke with that tradition because I was so excited to see Loki. I was chomping at the bit. I wanted every single moment I could get of Loki. I didn't care that I wouldn't get the whole story. And this particular story is one that I think the whole thing is going to be much better than individual episodes, which makes me very excited because I think individual episodes are also strong. So, yeah, can't say enough about this one. Where I didn't like a Winter Soldier, and I was not as vindicated by Winter Soldier and Cap, and WandaVision was really good, but totally something I did not see coming. It was a very different kind of story. I really like Loki. I really like it. Very comic.
Looking at it backwards, it's really hard to believe that their first show was WandaVision. Like, of all the shows, they picked that one to go first. That's a hard sit down watch for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Loki's been just pretty much just nonstop fun.
Yeah.
It's been the pacing has been a bit much. Like it's almost too much stuff in the shows. As where in WandaVision it was like you're just desperate for your next clue as to what the fuck was happening.
Yeah.
Also, when the big reveal happened, it actually wasn't that astounding, too. Like, that was the other bit. Like, in WandaVision, you finally got the big reveal, and yep, it was just Wanda the whole time. You knew it was Wanda the whole time, and it was.
Whoa, spoilers.
And you're like, oh, yeah, spoilers. Okay.
Parker just ruined everything.
Yeah, if you haven't seen WandaVision, guess what?
He's just lying. He's kidding.
So
stupid.
Wanda did it.
Stupid Parker.
Yeah, just kidding.
Stupid
he was talking
Parker.
about something else. When I said Sean Bean got his head cut off, I meant in Lord of the Rings.
He's a ghost all along.
Yeah, Sean Bean.
Spoilers: he shoots the dog.
That was that was a joke. It's Sean Bean and Willem Dafoe. If they're in a movie, you can expect them to die in a super dramatic way.
Doesn't William Dafoe live through something?
He does. Yeah, he does live in like 3 of his movies, but in one of them he was literally Jesus Christ. So like, spoiler alert, he dies in that one.
I don't remember how that one turns out.
Yeah.
I just immediately cut back to that fucking last season of Rick and Morty. He's like, Rick or Morty, it's the greatest story ever told. He's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't know how to handle it. Oh, alrighty. Alright, so let's pencil this in. Main topic stuff. So we're gonna do things a little out of order today. Just heads up. So I'll talk about the topics as we get there.
Oh, I just realized. Has anyone looked at the panel of plays just to be sure we don't have a new thing on there? I haven't.
I'll check. I got it right here. Oh, there's a Doom panel to play.
Son of a bitch! Don't do that.
You should look it up.
Don't you?
How long?
Don't you wish that? Don't you wish that evil on?
Traumatized seconds of your brain going. What?
Don't you wish that evil on me, Robin Burgundy?
It's Ricky Bobby.
Oh, that's Ricky
Wrong
Bobby.
Movie.
Sorry, wrong movie. Totally different characters. Not even similar at all.
They're not. One of them he's a redneck. The other one's he's a '70s bro.
Yeah, I don't know why. I was getting this confused. Okay.
All right, well, I guess we don't have much to pre-ramble about then. Is there anything else you guys wanted to chat about? Ooh, Jeremy, have you been watching the new season of Rick and Morty?
Oh, I didn't realize it was out. Is there new stuff?
Yeah, the first 3 episodes are out.
I have not. I'll have to catch up on that.
And you quit watching Attack on Titan, right?
I did.
How far did you make it? Do you remember?
Halfway through season 3.
Okay.
What, you just
the end of
exhausted?
season 3's, he's no longer, I guess, the person he was watching it with is no longer in his life.
Ah.
That's the best way to put that I've ever heard. Yeah,
no
and
longer
like
spends time with that person.
I just didn't. I don't know, man. That show just didn't hook me. Like I found it interesting enough to kind of drag myself along, but at the end,
kind of like WandaVision. You have to have that want to know more. You
Yeah.
need to be like a person on Starship Troopers.
Do you want to know more?
But then once you get to the end of season 3, there's a pretty fucking epic fight that is amazing. And then at the start of season 4, there's also another huge epic fight.
maybe I made it to season 4. I don't know if I did or not, but
Well, season 4, there's a time skip in between seasons 3 and 4.
oh
There's
really?
like 2 years go by, yeah.
Like I feel like I understood most of what was happening at that point. I don't know.
Well, let's say the world gets a little bit bigger in season 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I loved the, I think they only have like the first 9 episodes out. But I loved the first, it's kind of like Battlestar Galactica, season 3. When they're on, you've seen BSG, I know you have.
I have not.
I will fucking, God damn it, Jeremy.
I have
Are you
not.
serious?
I have not. I don't give
You've
a fuck.
never seen BSG?
No.
Stop what you're doing right now. Go watch BSG.
Is it really that good?
It's the best Star Wars or science fiction TV show ever.
You're not the only one
Like
who
the
said
only
that.
one. Do it.
You're not the only one that has said that. I've heard that before.
Yeah, it's like completely different. It's like sci-fi before Star Wars came out, and there's sci-fi after BSG. Like it's completely different. They literally like broke ground on how how science fiction is done.
Maybe I'm just not.
Anyway.
I'm more of a fantasy kind of guy. Sci-fi stuff.
No,
I mean, I don't know.
yeah, I get that, but man, it's such a good show.
I'll
Just
check it
watch
out.
the miniseries.
I've heard it's good.
The miniseries is 2 90-minute episodes, and if it doesn't hook you by that, then don't watch it.
Okay.
But the miniseries is awesome. It's like a great standalone sci-fi movie.
Is that on
Anyway,
Netflix?
moving on. It used to be on Netflix. I'm not sure where you watch it right now. I think you just have to like
Okay.
go find it, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I own the first season on DVD. I can lend it to you.
DVD. What are those?
Yeah, I know it's like a bite, but it's in a circular form. But anyway, so the season 3 of Battlestar Galactica, it's got a whole new tone, and it's got a big time jump between the previous season and that season. And it's very slow, and it's basically just catching you up on everything that's happened since the time jump. And then fucking episode 3 happens, and it's the single greatest thing that's ever happened in your entire life. Like, that's how I felt about, like, season 4 of Attack on Titan. It starts off real slow, you're not quite sure what the fuck's going on, and it just spends, like, 4 or 5 episodes telling you what you missed, which I'm like, you could have just shown this to me, why is everything flashbacks and weird context stuff? And then the entire fucking, like bowels of hell rip open, and, like, shit happens, and you're like, oh, this is what I was waiting for, okay. Like, and so, it just goes from 0 to 10 million in, like, a quarter of a second. You're like, oh, God. Anyway, yeah, the episode Exodus, season 3 of Battlestar Galactica, probably the single greatest episode of television of all time.
I can't imagine.
It just grabbed my emotions and ripped them into pieces. And I was like, I don't know how to feel about anything anymore. From that on, I didn't feel it. From that moment on, I didn't feel anything like Dennis Reynolds. It's like nothing will ever compare.
Oh gosh, I that is something I wanted to pre-ramble about. Oh my god,
Always Sunny.
I don't know
Did you finally
how.
start watching Always Sunny?
I finally met Mantis Toboggan, MD. Oh my god, I was
Mantis Toboggan. You're like, that's not a real name.
everything about. You know that Frank is my favorite part of It's Always Sunny by far.
Parker, how do you respond when a 4'9" individual walks up to you and says, "My name is Mantis Toboggan"?
Mantis
Do you
Toboggan.
just go with it?
You got the AIDS. The test results are back. It's like, could you imagine a doctor walking up to you on this, like during a fair, and telling you have AIDS?
You're at like a county fair. He walks up to you. "My name is Mantis Toboggan, MD. You have AIDS. Test came back. They were positive." You're like, what is happening?
Oh my gosh, everything. The Dennis System episode is a really good episode, but by far the best thing to come out of that is Mantis Toboggan.
Most people that haven't watched Always Sunny in Philadelphia, they only know 3 things about Always Sunny. There's the implication, there is Pepe Sylvia, and there's the Dennis System. Those are the only 3 things they know because they get memed a lot.
Yeah.
But, oh my god, there's so many more good things about that show.
Oh, Mantis Toboggan. Also, I've watched enough episodes now. Every time Frank pulls out his gun is like, it's going to be the best thing ever. I it started happening so much I realized it was like a theme, and so I just found a supercuts on YouTube of every time Frank's pull out his gun, and so I have this. I'm glad I got spoiled because I was just laughing. I was laughing till I thought I was going to puke the other night. Just every time Frank pulls out his gun. Oh my god!
The best one's probably The Gang Gets Invincible, which they just copied the movie Invincible, and they're at tryouts, and so they're tailgating the tryouts for the Philadelphia Eagles. And he's so wasted, he's standing in a trash can filled with his own poop. And he can't even figure out, he thinks he's inside of an RV bathroom.
Yeah.
And he's just standing in a trash can that he's pooped in. And they walk up and be like, "Frank, you have your gun?" He's like, "Yeah!" And he just whips it out. And he just like starts pointing it at people. Yeah. It's like, the dude is so fucking high. He doesn't realize he's standing in a trash can filled with his own poop.
Are you
he has
a reptile?
loaded gun.
Whoa! Lizard!
That lizard talks! He's not a lizard. That's Charlie.
My favorite part is when he goes, "Lizard!" Charlie freaks out in the studio. Goes, "Whoa, where? Whoa!"
Lizard? Where? I hate lizards.
Oh man,
Jeremy, you need to watch Always Sunny.
I've seen them all.
You've seen them all?
Pretty much.
Okay.
I've seen
You
them
watch
all at
them all
least
again.
once.
Watch them all again.
There's a lot of
I was-
episodes
All
that I do
15.
love.
All 15 seasons.
also, when Mantis Toboggan comes back in the Patty's commercial that he makes, it's virus. This is a virus.
Get the bug.
He wants it to go viral, and so he just says it's a virus and on the screen
He
in
doesn't
really
understand
crappy
viral
CGI
video.
letters. It's a virus.
He's like, I went to Patty's and I got a virus.
If you
put up
clicked
the
on
ad
this,
on
then you have a
YouTube.
virus.
And they think it's just like, don't get Ebola, don't go to Patty's.
Yeah. I lie a lot. We don't have any of these things. Yeah, everyone on the internet lies. Oh, okay, that checks out. Yeah.
Matt checks out.
Oh.
God.
The Mac system move in after completion. Oh, that's...
We almost named the podcast "It's Always Sunny in the Marvel Universe." Like it was on the top 5.
Oh man, but I had not. I don't know how I hadn't met Mantis Toboggan yet, but that might be. I think I might go onto every single thing that my current profile name is on and change them all to Mantis Toboggan. That's how much I instantly
There's also the
love.
scene or the episode where Frank waterboards his own daughter in a urinal.
I
I got her to admit to shit she didn't even do. It's like, yes, that's why torture doesn't work.
Oh,
It's like confirmation and like complete like destruction of your logic in one sentence.
Oh my gosh, everything about Frank Reynolds is dumb.
When he gets sewed into that couch is one of my favorite things that ever happened on the show. And then he's all sweaty and he gets birthed out.
Say something bad about Frank Reynolds. Who's Frank Reynolds, and why is there a man sewn into that couch?
Hot.
It's so good.
It's too hot.
He just slides out of it. It's so disgusting.
If you were to ask 1 million people that have all never seen the show, they'd be like, "Why is Danny DeVito sewed into a leather black couch?"
Yeah.
Like that's the first question they would ask you from that picture. Like no one in the planet wouldn't know. It's like that's Danny DeVito. Like, and he's sewn into a couch.
Why is that man sewn into a couch?
Have you guys seen the interview that? And I don't know, you might know about this from somewhere else, but Danny DeVito, after he did the Lorax, he voiced the Lorax in one of the Dr. Seuss movies,
Mm-hmm.
and so he went on the Graham Norton interview show in Britain on BBC. And they asked him about when he did Batman Returns, and he explained that, the penguin suit was like a whole thing. And he had this scene that he had a problem with one of the animals on set. Because in the penguins, like, hideout, they had all these different penguins
Right.
and, like, seals and shit. But there was this monkey that was part of, like, his circus gang. And there's this scene where the monkey comes down the steps and hands him a note from Batman. And he's supposed to open it and read it and then get mad. And so he has to squirt this like food coloring and mouthwash mixture into his mouth so he can like spit this black oozy liquid out of his mouth while
That's
he
right.
talks.
Yeah.
And so he fills his mouth with this stuff. And so basically he can't talk until he says his lines or else they have to start over because he only has so much he can put in his mouth. And so the monkey's supposed to come down the stairs and then like, hand him the note. And so the trainer's there and he like clicks the thing and the monkey comes downstairs and hands the trainer the note. He's like, all right, this seems easy. And so he walks over and he does like the penguin waddle over to the steps and then the trainer hits the clicker and the monkey walks down the steps all casual, gets there, but instead of handing the notes, it just leaps at him and like bites onto his groin.
Oh,
He's
Jesus.
just like screaming like, someone help me! It's like all this black oozy liquid is spraying out of his mouth.
Oh,
He's
Jesus.
like, I'm dying!
Oh.
Just gets like attacked by this little like capucci monkey guy. And it's pretty funny. He's like, yeah, so luckily the suit had enough padding in it, but he literally took like a 3-inch section out of the suit with his teeth. And he's like, can we add like a steel plate or something? Like, I don't trust this monkey anymore. And so that was just a funny little tidbit from him doing Batman Returns. He's a funny guy.
Speaking of animals and destroying things, you guys probably heard of the mantis shrimp, right? The most powerful punch in the animal kingdom. I don't know if this is a new video or an old video, but a video surfaced on my feed the other day that was a guy was kayak fishing in the habitat where the mantis shrimp is, and he's putting live bait into the water, and it goes down pretty much to the seafloor, and he keeps getting mantis shrimp grabbing onto the bait, and so he they're big enough, they're sizable, and they're like pulling things around, so he feels it, he pulls them up, and so there's the short video is him with he has a GoPro on, he pulls the mantis shrimp and goes, oh whoa, another mantis shrimp, okay, got to be careful of this thing, and he gets in the boat, and you see the mantis shrimp like it's too close to his foot, and he goes, oh, ow, damn, ow, and he looked down, and the mantis shrimp grabbed him with one claw and then punched him with the other. And he's like, you hear like mantis shrimp, like most powerful punch. Jesus, I had no idea. So the shrimp is only about the size of his hand, right? It's a really small little creature, and the one punch it gave him went through his boot. He's wearing like a kayak boot. It went through the rubber boot, put this like little hole, and then he took off the boot, and it punched a hole through his skin to basically his bone. It's just this tiny little puncture wound, but just one punch from the mantis shrimp punched through his boot and his skin down to the top of his foot. And he's like, Jesus, this hurts. And so he like couldn't put the boot back on. This mantis shrimp punched a hole in his boot and skin, and I was blown away by it, because you hear about like incredible power, it moves so fast it literally collapses the air, it boils the air, and the shockwave is what stuns the creatures it eats. But I did not know they operated outside of water like that. I know you can't put them in aquariums because they bust them instantly and stuff like that, but I had no idea you could like punch through a person's skin and this armored boot he was wearing. It was crazy, but same difference, right? Just like an animal just taking a chunk out of something.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually a worry that I had and others who were in the aquarium stuff. When you would order stuff for your saltwater tank, you'd be like, there better not be a goddamn mantis shrimp in this rock. Because you would order live rock or whatever from Florida or from wherever.
Oh,
and you'd
like
be
it
like,
would have like
yes,
like little mantises
yep,
in it.
All that stuff can kind of hijack or stow away on that, and then all of a sudden you'll hear it. Because mantis shrimp have a pop, so the way you know you have one is you can hear it. It's audibly, like you can hear it. So if that happens in like I had a 300-gallon saltwater aquarium, you just basically have to empty the whole thing out and clear it, because it'll break the damn glass on you. Yeah.
How small? Do you know how small they start out? I know they can be kind of small.
Yeah, generally they're fairly small. I mean, they're about the size of a shrimp. They're not huge. They're really long though, because they don't look like a shrimp. Right. They look almost like a centipede.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not
because
huge.
I know the way it works is when they do their like little slap punch thing. The reason it's so powerful is because they move so quickly. They create a vacuum behind their arm where they're moving, and then it's the suction pulling the water behind them, which causes the shockwave. And so when it collapses again, it creates the shockwave.
Well, they're scary little bastards. That's all I know.
The crazy thing is, I read that they're trying to figure out how their carapace can like deal with the decompression like over and over and over again. Like they do it constantly. So how does their because they can like crush like hard calcium shells of these creatures that they eat. So how does their own carapace actually deal with it? The fiber, like the molecular construction of their exoskeleton is completely out of this world. And they're trying to study the formation of their exoskeleton. If they can deconstruct it and figure it out, they could create super light, incredibly powerful materials that could deal with ridiculous pressure and impact. It's one of those things like nature did it better. Like we can't build anything that can do what their carapace does.
Mm-hmm.
Super cool.
Well, a lot of the time when they're trying to figure out how something works and why it's as strong as it is, it's because it's not actually strong. It's actually just durable. Like it's just flexible. And so like, how do you build something that like can't be cut by a saw blade? Well, turn out just make it soft, and then it doesn't get cut by a saw blade. Like it just moves out of the way. Mm-hmm. It's just odd stuff. All right. Well, we think we probably have enough pre-ramble now. You guys ready to get started?
For show.
Aye, ayes.
eyes or my eyes?
Like I said, every once in a while, if I close my eyes like this, it's because I'm experiencing incredible pain.
All right. Parker's whining like a bitch. I think we're ready to start.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds about right. I feel more comfortable now. Get to me.
Who are rerolls? I think I need to just permanently have the butterfly meme. Is this rerolls?
Is this the timing chart? Wycombe has no tattoo.
Yeah.
Ugh, let's wrap this thing up, man.
Well, we need to do our 45-minute post ramble to go after our pre
Listen, I'm clapping. I'm clapping.
I'm clapping. You can hit the button or not.
I actually have something. I don't know if we're going to make this a podcast topic. The only thing that I'm really excited about playing that we're not going to be able to play because the league is going on right now is, am I crazy or is Jean Grey a
Jean!
really strong Avenger? Am I crazy? Because sometimes hold on. The only reason why I say it is sometimes I look at models and I go, oh, this is going to make my faction much stronger, but it turns out to be it's totally unnecessary. Like putting Ronan in Avengers, for example, is too much, like unnecessary. He would be an okay Avenger, but it's not necessary. He does fine.
Would he though?
Jean Grey, I feel like she'd be a really strong Avenger, like a very, very strong Avenger.
So she's a 3/4/5, 6 hit points, Sonic Bolt, Battlefield Manipulation, throw up to size 4 medium, Matter Transmutation, choose token 2 push. Character ally character with force placed, pushed, or advanced by Mystic or Superpower. She'd be okay. I mean, the general problem you see with Avengers is you run into too many expensive characters.
I feel like you usually have the space for 1/5. You can't do more.
Sure, no, I think you do. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've kind of abandoned Avengers at this point. They're kind of a solved equation. It's they're beaten by high level play, I think, is the answer. They tend to noob stomp people because you don't understand how to take their brick apart, and you don't know how to exploit the weaknesses of the positioning the list requires. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I think they're really strong against newer players. But I think they run out of gas versus the really A-level damage. Like if you're running against a Magneto or a Thanos or a MODOK, that kind of takes apart their ability to survive. Because MODOK can just eventually kill Captain America. Mm-hmm. And then like the list kind of falls apart. And then also A-Force is just kind of Avengers harder, if that makes sense. It's like if you're gonna build the brick, Avenger or A-Force is just a much more efficient way to do that because their cards say do that. As where Avengers is like they're trying to do both. They're trying to be a normal list and also be a brick at the same time, and it doesn't really work.
The only reason why I thought Jean, it felt less like Avengers. It felt like Avengers. I don't know how close it is to pushing over the edge. The reason why is I feel like Shield Mind, Matter Transportation, and Battlefield Manipulation, the 3 powers that she has that she's getting discounted all the time, are 3 things that they really want. Mm-hmm. And the thing that she doesn't like, which is just getting hit in the face with physical attacks, Captain America is going to help. And she's the first character that says, for 1 power, I'm going to stop you from moving my shit around. And so Cap is not leaving my side.
But Avenger or A-Force just says basically you can't do it with a tactics card.
But it costs a tactics slot and it's only 1 turn, whereas Jean Grey is just perma nearly because she's getting 2 power and Psionic Bolt is so efficient. She's nearly going to be perma frozen. Like my models are here.
I think it works. I'm worried that you're just going deeper in the strategy that we've already determined doesn't work. Like, if you're putting 9 points of your list into making sure Jean Grey has a bodyguard, then that's too many points. Because, like, Jean Grey's not worth 9 points.
No.
Right? Okay. So that's the problem. Is that you end up with a 9-point Jean Grey that has a bodyguard. I'm like, okay, they just ignored Jean Grey, now what? And you're like, well, shit, I'm out of points, so I don't really have another plan. I have 2 3-point characters running around. You're like, yeah, that's kind of the problem. And so, like, I don't know that you can build an effective list once you're beyond the 9 points of stand around. because Jean Grey doesn't have the maximum potential to like kill an entire opponent's army like MODOK does. But she does have a lot of synergies with Captain America.
No. Yeah,
I think Jeremy.
we can
Jeremy,
clap now.
we see you, Jeremy. Parker's asking questions. Tell him to shut up. Tell you what, Parker, we'll talk about it after. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up, though. How about that?
Okay.
Does that sound good, everybody?
Yeah, that sounds fine. That sounds good.
All right. Jeremy's like, I have to work. We're fucking done. All right. So you guys good?